So today I am so very excited because I'm making a video that I wish was made 2 years ago. But apparently everyone in the Nikon community is a photographer, so I guess no one got the memo. But as you can probably tell by the title, it's all about video autofocus today, a topic that is seemingly impossible to find when talking about Nikon cameras. So if you're wondering why I'm making this now as opposed to 2 years ago, it's because I've only really had access to the Nikon F mount lenses, and their continuous video autofocus is this lens broken or something? I feel like it shouldn't be this bad. But it is. So I finally got the Nikon 24-70 F2.8 S lens, and man oh man, I am so excited to try it out. So I'm just going to be looking through some examples and comparing it to its counterpart, the old 24-70 F, which is what I was using, and let me tell you, I was not using this bad boy for the autofocus. So probably the number one most important thing about good video autofocus is a smooth focus pull. Now, the Nikon Z system is not quite there where you can just fire your first AC, but if you could never afford to hire one in the first place, I think it's gonna be just fine. As you can see, the 24-70 S is pretty smooth. It's pretty smooth and responsive when pulling focus from one subject to another. And if you'd like, you can always go into the settings to further tweak the speed and sensitivity to your preference. Maybe you'd like it to be really fast and responsive, or you'd like it to be painfully slow. Well, you can do that, and I really appreciate just having the option to do that. And sadly, I really cannot say the same for the old F-mount lenses. They just snap into focus, there's no smooth focus pull, and even if you go into the settings and you slow it down or speed it up, it doesn't have any effect. I really don't know why this is, but it must be just the way the old lenses were designed. I wish that you could change the sensitivity, but sadly you cannot. So yeah, if you're looking for a smooth focus pull with these lenses, you're going to have to do it manually, which luckily the old 24-70 is better, and the older Nikon lenses, F-mount lenses, are better because they are real manual focus, whereas the new S-mount lenses are focused by wire, so those are definitely, I mean, wow, don't even get me started. The manually focusing with the S-mount lenses, garbage. The Nikon face tracking is honestly pretty good. I mean, it can sometimes have a little bit of trouble initially finding the face, but once it does, man, it sticks on there like hot glue, and the subject is not going to be able to lose it easily, even if they're backlit. My only complaints are that if the subject turns around and walks away from the camera can struggle sometimes. This is usually more prevalent on wider lenses, and if you're using it more on a telephoto lens where the background is already blurred out, the subject will be separated from the background already, so the camera is going to have an easier time keeping that subject in focus. And sometimes it can focus on the nose instead of the eye if you're doing a full face shot, but yeah, because it doesn't have eye autofocus in video, unlike some Sonys and Canons out there, but just something to keep in mind. Now, as we've established, the full area autofocus is great for the whole face tracking thing, but other than that, I cannot stand using it for any scene that doesn't have a face in it. The camera seems to have some weird obsession with locking onto an object in some part of the frame and just not changing focus from that object, no matter what you do. That object has to leave the frame completely before the camera decides to change focus. And it also will not focus on subjects that you would think would be really obvious and you'd think the camera would know to focus on. So yeah, I mean, I do not enjoy using this camera in the full area autofocus. And it's like this no matter what lens you are using or focal length. I really have fought with this a lot, and it's definitely my biggest complaint with the autofocus of this camera. But I have heard the Nikon Z6 Mark II does a better job in the full area autofocusing department, though I haven't tried it myself, so don't take my word for it. Luckily, there is hope. There is something that we can do about this. It's not the end. There are different focusing modes we can use, and the first of those modes is 3D tracking. And honestly, this mode works pretty well. It works nearly as well as face tracking, except obviously, you tap on the screen on something and it tracks it. I would say if your subject stands out nicely from the background, this is pretty reliable and you're going to find good results using it. But yeah, don't go tracking a dark subject against a dark background. That's just asking for trouble with any autofocus system. But what if your subject leaves the frame? Then the 3D tracking definitely is not going to have your back. So this is where we switch over to the point autofocus. And if I'm going to be honest, the point autofocus is my preferred way to use autofocus on this camera. It's the most reliable and the most predictable, just as long as you keep your subject in that little autofocusing box. I know that it's going to be in focus and the camera is going to do a good job of keeping up. So overall, I really don't hate the autofocus on the Nikon Z6. I know it's an older camera now, and it's definitely nowhere near as good as the latest Sony or Canon. But honestly, for what I need it for, I'm pretty happy with the final result a lot of the time. Sorry this video was 2 years late, but better late than never, right? I'm just grateful that you were able to watch it in the end. And yeah, thank you so much for supporting my channel. And I will see you in the next one. Peace. Wow, still got me in focus. It's not bad.